The Producer Spotlight with Mr. Instro.
You can be a beat maker and not be a music producer. But when you're a music producer, you don't have to be a beat maker.
Only on the Element. On the Element.
It's just gone 14 minutes before we hit 7 o'clock. We are officially in the Producers Spotlight segment. Oh, I can actually say Producer Spotlight hour.
Yes.
Because all my bullying worked. And we definitely...
Took you a while though.
You know why? Because unlike you, who is really inconsiderate of my feelings a lot of the time, I am very considerate of your feelings. I didn't want to be that person where you're standing on a pool and you're like, oh my God, it's a bit cold. I'm not sure if I'm ready. And I'm just like, go. I want to be like, no, come, put your toe in. All right, put your foot in. Okay, let the water touch your belly. Wawan? So now we are here. The point is we are here. It is the Producer Spotlight happening every Wednesday between 6:30 and 7:30. We kick things off. We're talking about hashtag protect the producer. But now we're officially getting into our spotlight for today. Whomst are we spotlighting, Mr. Instro?
We are spotlighting the legendary Rockwilder.
Right.
So if you know the famous Redman and Method Man song,
The Rockwilder.
That's the guy that made that music. That's the guy who we're seeing today.
And fun fact, we've been playing Rockwilder production since we kicked off the Producer Spotlight. And so I do the bio and then Mr. Instro comes with the real stuff.
Yes.
So Rockwilder is one of the most original and innovative boardsmen to emerge during the 90s. A native of New York, the Grammy-winning producer got his foot in the door as a producer through placements on albums by Flatliners and Organized Confusion. Now, his connection with Redman on the rapper's Dare Is a Dark Side album is what would ultimately put him on the map in a very big way. Thereafter, he lent his talents to some of the biggest rap stars in the game, including Busta Rhymes and Big Pun, to name a few. Then in 1999, the producer truly hit his stride by crafting hit singles for Jay-Z and Method Man and Redman, including The Rockwilder. He later went on to found his own record production company called Music Park Entertainment. That's the meat. That's the facts. Shout out to Revolt TV and Lounge Studios NYC. You must give credit when you do these kinds of things. I got some of the facts from there, so shout out to them. And now Mr. Instro is going to unpack his brain and put us on game about Rockwilder. Yeah,
so Rockwilder has like a specific sound. He's one of the few producers that have like a distinct sound. He doesn't use like a piano.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like a piano sound. Like Dr. Dre, right? Dr. Dre's got a specific, piano or like a guitar. That kind of stuff.
Right.
Nah, he uses weird sounds, synthesizers, and whatever else you can collect. He's just about a futuristic kind of sound, and it totally put him apart from any other producer. Right. And I feel like we need to give that energy respect because he was doing that in the 90s.
Yes.
So that was very early, to be messing around. I think it was like the rock guys that were messing more with, futuristic sounds, and then later the R&B people came in.
Yeah, because at that time there was a very particular sound for hip-hop. It was very distinct. This is hip-hop. It falls into this kind of box or bracket.
Absolutely.
And then when you hear something else, it's really like, is it hip-hop? Can we still consider it hip-hop? And it's like, yes, we can.
Yeah. Right. One of the most notable people that I could say had sort of like heard this sound and sort of adopted it would be Rodney Jerkins. If you listen to albums like Brandy's Full Moon, that's an R&B album, but the sound is super futuristic.
True, because you can play that today and it still feels like it fits. It
still feels good. Same with Rockwilder. In fact, I would say Rockwilder pioneered that sound. Where there's like swords and there's like very weird sounds in the like if you listen to the Rockwilder, you understand like there's like what is that? Like you don't know what instrument that is. Jay-Z, Do It Again, like what is that sound? Like what is that?
Right.
And it's a beautiful trait to have because it's his sound, and he's one of the people that like never struggled when it comes to like really getting a fine and rich sound, right? And another thing that's important to mention about him is he says he considers himself a DJ first.
Why does that matter? We've had this conversation before about the benefits of knowing and understanding the craft of DJing before you move into the production space. But why does it matter that he has singled that out? Because some people be like, oh, hi, my name's Azizzar, I'm a DJ producer, and it's like almost one and the same, even the way that people say it. But for you to come out and say, yo, it's important for you to know that I identify as this first and everything after.
Okay, I would say in his case, right, I would say it was his surroundings, right? He was surrounded by these New York cats, you know, and he loved music, and he found himself, you know, within that energy, you know, and he was listening to a lot of Run DMC, Jam Master Jay, in fact, if you ask me, I would say when I look at Run DMC, I would say Jam Master Jay was the coolest, you know, like he was the one that was like, yeah, I see these guys there.
Yes.
But who's there up there? The DJ there scratching. Who's that? You know? And I guess it was a natural progression for him to be like, yo, I want to do that. And also another important thing about being a DJ is, I think I mentioned this with, I think it might have been DJ Scratch.
Yes.
That you learn the technical side of music. That's pretty much the best place to learn technically how sound works, right? Because you have to do things like, you know, volume control. You have to do things like syncing, right? Okay, these days you have the button where you just press the button and you sync, but you know, you had to learn how to sync, and most importantly, you had to learn how to mix. True. And when you learn how to mix, that's the first ingredient that you need to be able to make music, right? Because it's almost like cooking. Yeah. You can't be a cook if you don't understand what goes with what. Yes. You understand? You need to have like a knowledge that says, okay, for this I need these kind of spices. Right. For this I need, and mixing, in my opinion, is the most fundamental skill. That's such a beautiful analogy. Yeah, no, for real. It's the most fundamental skill that you need to have if you want to be an incredible music producer. Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much his journey with DJing. Still does it today. In fact, man, I don't think I've ever met a DJ that ever stops DJing. I mean, look at Jazzy Jeff, guys still behind the turntables. Right. Like, yeah. Okay, so let me ask you, it might be a little bit controversial, but I think we'll be fine. Okay. Is it possible to be a really dope DJ and be a whack producer? Yeah. You know, what's funny is I don't think I've ever come across a DJ that makes whack beats. That's something to actually look out for, because everybody I know, I mean, I'll give you an example. P. Cutter, for instance, like he's a DJ, and his beats, when I listen to his beats, I always wonder why he doesn't consider himself like a music producer, right? Because the sound is so rich, and he knows the boom, you know, he understands the boom. And yeah, like I have to think about more DJs that I know personally that I would ask myself, like, yo, these guys are supposed, like, it's a great question. It's really something worth researching. And the reason why I ask you something like that is because we've spoken about this DJ meeting production journey and how being a DJ first is so beneficial, and you just reiterated that again, right? And it's so super interesting to me to find incredible DJs that
aren't making music per se, or aren't putting their music out, like you just mentioned. But I think when we look at it, I think generally as people, when you hone a particular craft, I think there's a part of you that goes, I'm really, really good at this. Let me not mess it up or dilute my image and my brand even by trying to step into this other thing, because I might just be okay at that, but I'm really great
at this one thing. Yeah, that's definitely a valid point, because a lot of us, I mean, just like me, if you were to ask me about rapping, for instance,
right?
Yeah, I probably can, but like it wouldn't be something I'd actively go and go like, yo, okay, cool, I'm gonna start being a rapper now. No.
Right.
You know, it's not that I can't. It's just that I feel like it would be wasted energy. I'd rather spend it on, you know, listening. I'd rather spend it on mixing. I'd rather spend it on creating the perfect song for you as an artist, rather than being an artist myself. But I will also say that I enjoy things like sound engineering in itself.
Right.
You know, I enjoy listening to other people's music and seeing how I can contribute in terms of making it sound better, you know. And I enjoy DJing as well. You know, I wouldn't go and call myself a DJ, but
that DJ chat, we've had this chat before.
Yes.
Ne?
Yes.
And Akisobe sharp.
Why?
Because till today, I think it's maybe almost a year since we've had that chat.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've never seen you DJ. And you're like, yeah.
You've never seen me DJ.
Look, I know we had the chat, like, but a cool out, and I'm like, man, I wasn't paying attention to that. But I want to experience Mr. Instro DJ. Do I need to throw a birthday party?
Yeah. You see, maybe if you do that, then we might talk about something.
Okay.
But also,
can I afford you?
No, you you're my girl. Come on. You can always
don't make those dangerous decisions.
No, I'm being for real. Like, yo, we can always talk about it. But what I'm saying is, first of all, I understand why you haven't heard me DJ. I understand that, because I sort of like went into an Afrobeat kind of stage, you know. I was, when was it, 2016 2017, I was really falling in love with the sound, you know, the Afrobeat sound, you know, your technos, your WizKids, like they were making music that was so rich, and like, man, I was really attracted to it. And yeah, like, I guess I would play at very awkward places where you wouldn't necessarily find your average hip-hop head, but I'm not like exclusive to the sound.
Okay.
You know, I can DJ in whatever genre. If you tell me the kind of stuff that you want, then I can definitely make a plan.
All right, so it's gone 1 minute before we hit 7 o'clock, before we get into the second and final hour of the show. I'm very proud of myself. Today I made history. I've given Mr. Instro homework from the producer spotlight, which has never happened.
Very good,
didn't think it was ever going to happen. So Mr. has homework, and we're going to keep an eye on that and see what he comes back with. But if you have any questions, comments, and anything that you want to say, hit us up on @Massive Metro on social media, and it's @Mr_Instro if you want to get at him direct. We're going to play the jam, the big one, and it's going to take us into the second hour, and we're going to continue this conversation until we hit 7:30. Only on the Element. It's just gone 3 minutes after 7 o'clock. Shout out to you for rocking out with us, and shout out to those 2 extra followers that we got.
Shout out to y'all.
So I think somebody's really enjoying Mr. Instro and the producer spotlight. I think you deserve a yeah, because you got how many? 2 new followers. That's
you know
what
how
you
much
deserve.
I love that skit, that clip.
Shout outs to Mbuiselo.
I love it.
Kumalo, Forever Chalk Skinny Boy. He did Under Duress, I'm not gonna lie.
Is it?
Yes.
Sounds like he was having the time of his life.
He did it Under Duress. I said, Chumi, I need this thing. Please, can you do this thing for me? And he was like, oh, babe, really? And I said, yes. Yes. And then he did that thing.
I love it.
So shout out to him. All right, back to
Sure.
the producer spotlight.
Yes.
We've got 27 minutes.
Okay.
You
Beautiful.
must understand that this
Love
is
it.
all you used to have before. 27 minutes.
Gone are the days.
Gone. Thank you, my brother. Oh, thank you, my brother. So where are we going with it now, Mr. Instro?
Okay, so we're going to a very controversial topic,
I'm
but
stressed.
actually it's not that controversial.
All right.
Leasing beats, right?
All right. Explain that concept for those of us who might not necessarily be in that space. What does it mean to lease a beat? What does it
so
entail?
to lease a beat means that you are using that beat for a certain. You are allowed the whoever owns the music, owns the beat, allows you to use that beat for a certain amount of time.
Okay.
And then you can publicize, you can distribute for that period.
And
right?
then after that period, it all goes back to, let's say you are the owner. So you say, Azizzar, I will lease you this beat for 6 months.
Yes.
And then at the end of the 6-month period, then it's almost like cease and desist. After that, I'm not allowed to be using that beat in the same way.
Absolutely.
Okay.
But I've learned that a lot of producers now have the option to renew. So you can use it for a certain period of time, and then after that you can renew and say, yo, I want to use it some more. That's if it's working for you. But Rockwilder has a very interesting theory about that.
Okay.
Which is I never thought of it that way, but it's quite amazing. He says Leasing Beats created a sort of like middle class ground for artists, right? So if you're not a star, let me give you some context, right? It's not all bad, but like
Right.
it's like a sting. It's like, bruh, what do you mean? But like it makes sense. He's saying it created a middle class ground because you have an opportunity now to get on a superstar production. Right? You have an opportunity as like a normal person. I'm an artist. I love recording. I love singing. I love rapping.
Like me.
Right. But I just can't get like $1 million
$1 million
beat.
beat.
Right? Yeah.
Right.
And this guy will give you those kind of beats, right? So what that did for him, right? What that did for him was give him an opportunity, first of all, to discover unsigned talent, like talent that you don't know, which is a big plus for a producer. Like, there's no feeling more gratifying than discovering someone and knowing that they have talent and just backing them. That's why we must protect the producer, because this becomes an emotional attachment thing. You literally seeing this person's potential and you're growing with them, right? So anyway, so it creates a middle class ground for someone who isn't necessarily a superstar and who can't afford the rates, the actual rates. And I thought, actually, that's quite cool because a lot of people would lease beats not being big producers. It's just the culture of saying, cool, use this instrumental for this certain amount of time and I'll hook you up. Cool, sharp. But when you look at it from his perspective as a big producer, you get to learn that actually, if I can lease a Rockwilder beat and say produced by on the album cover there, on that cover they're saying produced by Rockwilder. Come on.
Now, Mr. Instro, because it makes me think of something else, and we've spoken about this in passing. No, not even in passing. We spoke about this off air, and I remember I was very emotional and passionate, and I was like, nah, and you're like, but that's how things go.
Yeah.
Does leasing beats not then increase the risk of having a situation where me as Azizzar, I have a song called The Element, and it sounds a particular way because someone leased a beat to somebody that I know, and then I make a song and it's called The Element.
Yes.
And then 6 months after this leasing period has ended and all this stuff, then you get Cholo, who's got a song on the same beat and it's called The Kickback.
Yeah. Okay, there are two scenarios that happen.
That thing pisses me off, by the way. I just want to put that out there.
I know.
No, I just really needed to be known that thing, it really pisses me off. Because it feels unfair.
It does.
It feels very, very unfair. I can't even say to you, no, because what? Just in my spirit of spirits, I'm like, hey, this is some bull. That's how I feel about it.
No, okay, I understand. But there's two ways to look at leasing beats.
Right.
Two ways. The first one is you concentrate on the time that you've leased the beat. You're not necessarily concentrating on the music. And by that, I mean at the end of, say, you've leased it for 6 months.
Right.
At the end of that 6 months, he won't sell it to another person. Do you understand? He's gonna give you an opportunity to buy it or to lease it again. Do you understand? So it's for you. That beat is for you, but not necessarily. If a bigger offer comes, then maybe that might change the conversation. But that's the first way to look at it. Like, it doesn't necessarily. You can actually even ask or put it in the terms that I'm going to lease this beat, but can nobody else have it? You know, that kind of thing. You have an option, right? And then the other sad part is if this guy is like, okay, for you to get this clause in, I need an extra 5K. What are you gonna do? You know, I mean, it's business. It's really how, like.
Look, and
but
I get.
Think about it this way, Aziz. Like it's an intellectual property conversation.
Yes.
Right. So me understanding what my art is and knowing its value, it's important for me to get everything I can out of it.
100%.
You know, and I think if we're talking about leasing in particular, if you're buying a beat, it's a different conversation altogether. But if you're leasing the beat, man, you are coming to me saying, bro, I need your help.
You know what? I'm so glad that you said it like that, because I think that's where the unjustness of it, as far as how I feel about it, comes from. Because then when I'm looking at it from the outside, it's like, man, you're preying on me when I'm down, kind of thing. You know, you're preying on my.
Is it preying though?
I'm telling you about my emotions, Mr.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
I'm telling you about how I feel.
Cool.
You know, it seems as though, because you know that, okay, Azizzar needs the solid, like she needs it and she needs it now.
Yeah.
For then later to be like, okay, or when we're having these conversations, be like, you are in such a position of desperation that I can, because I know how bad you want it right now.
Yeah.
I'm more amenable to you if you say, yo, if you want to have this clause in, that's an extra 20K. You're getting me at my pit.
Yeah, but I mean,
fair enough. The other side of the coin is it's your intellectual property.
You're
it's your
asking
work
me to
and
do
it's your craft.
Yeah.
But damn,
you're asking me. Think of it this way. If I don't say, yo, we're gonna add that extra 5K, that's almost like you saying that I'd like to take advantage of you, but I don't want to use Vaseline this time. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, what? No. It's okay. You can take advantage of me, but I insist on the Vaseline, bro. I insist on that, you know. So I mean, that's how I see it. And also remember, as an artist, you can benefit from a lease. You can benefit.
Okay.
You really, really can benefit if you, like I'm saying, something as simple as having your artwork and having produced by Rockwilder.
Right.
That could take you places that you never imagined.
Okay. outside of my fields.
Yes.
The idea of leasing beats in the grander scheme of things, and creating a middle class production section.
Yes.
Class.
Middle
right?
class.
Does
You ain't
that
there yet.
right now? Does that have an adverse impact on the grander culture and scheme, because it's almost like now you can have the benefits of a $1 million beat and an Instro beat and a Rockwilder beat, even though you haven't quote unquote earned your stripes to get it.
Yeah, but I mean, if
feel
you've
me?
got the cash,
Right.
you've earned your stripes, no?
Having money doesn't always mean that you've earned your
No,
stripes.
of course. I'm just saying, in terms of, if we're talking about leasing, if we're talking about you taking the shortcut, it means that your money is your stripes.
Shortcut.
See, I wouldn't advise it.
You know, it doesn't hold me down.
I know. I actually agree with you. I'm not down to lease beats. I believe in going into studio with your producer, because music is spiritual, you know? And when you make it completely business, there's something.
Exactly.
There's
And I like the fact that you said that, because I feel like it's just becoming so normal in our culture. You got the money, you can do it.
Yeah.
And it also brings me back to the conversation that we're always having, and I'll have it with anybody who wants to listen to me, about this idea of, you know, anybody can rap.
Yeah.
And why, for instance, when anybody's like, oh, but Azizzar, you could rap, and I'm like, no, I really can't, because I don't. It's like you're saying, it's spiritual. I don't have that thing. My spiritual connection with music is not through rapping. That's not what it is. And I just feel some type of way when it's like, just because you've got the envelope or you've got the funds, that you can bypass all the emotional, psychological, spiritual, difficult work that it takes to be considered among the greats. Because that's essentially what ends up happening. You end up being considered as amongst the greats, because the greats are putting you on through their craft, just through your execution.
Absolutely. And in the when we're talking philosophy, you know, like, it's wrong. You know what I mean? Like, if we're talking about the actual, like, how things are going, it's wrong. But we must also consider the other side, and the other side is people need to live.
I knew you were gonna say the music business. And the business. I knew
it's always been there. It's always been there.
I knew.
If it's not leasing beats, it'll be something else. But people are going to, exactly. They'll actually find whatever they can find to make money out of it. And I'm saying, if I'm a producer and there is a culture of leasing beats, I don't see why I can't do it. If, you know, I'm trying to make some money, you know. Yes, I might have certain principles, you know, but at the end of the day, it should be my decision what I do with this art. If I want to lease it, if I want to sell it, yo, man, that should be up to me.
All right. So before we take a song break, would you do that? Would you lease a beat? Would you be about the leasing beats
like
life?
I said, I believe in being in a studio, you know. Let's first of all, the studio is like a very sacred place.
Yes.
You understand? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna meet for coffee, or we're gonna meet and just talk, you know. We're talking,
The
and
foreplay.
You could call it
Before
that.
the Vaseline.
Before the Vaseline, bruh. You know, before we get down to business. So
let's have some mind sex first.
yeah, exactly. Let me pick your brain. You have an opportunity to pick mine.
Right.
There must be no distractions when we get into that studio, you know. And once we get into that studio, we're vibing because we already have a relationship. We've established the kind of creatives
And the
we
rapport
are.
as well.
Exactly. That,
Right.
oh, okay, yo, so, oh, you're a church dude. Okay, so Sunday is out. Okay, sharp.
Right.
Or whatever the situation is, you know. But we're familiar with each other. And that's when the magic happens, man. Like, that's when a lot of the music just becomes classic, because you're on the same wavelength and you're feeling each other. You know what I mean? And that's the kind of music production I believe in. And that's, I doubt, because I'm doing so many other things, I doubt I'll ever want to do that process differently.
All right, so it's just gone 18 minutes after 7 o'clock. You heard it here. If you want Mr. Instro, just take him out to coffee first. Get to know the man. You know, a little bit of loving before the Vaseline. It's just gone 23 minutes after 7 o'clock, so there are 7 minutes to go until we hit 7:30. 7:30 brings to a close the producer's spotlight. We're doing it for an hour, and I think I prefer it that way. We're having really full conversations, myself and Mr. Instro, and I love it. I want to know if you love it. Hit me up on WhatsApp 074-9407-992. Tweet us on @MassiveMetro, and hit us up on Facebook in our comment section. We are Massive Metro across all social media platforms, and you can find Mr. Instro on @Mr_Instro across social media platforms as well. Oh, I'm Queen Azizzar, but producer spotlight is about the producer, which is Mr. Instro. So how are we bringing it home? How are we closing it off with Rockwilder?
I want to talk tech. I want to talk software.
Okay, where's my notebook? Because these are the things that I do. It's technical.
No, it's not that deep. You know, one of the things that I really, really admire about Rockwilder is that he uses Reason, right? The program Reason, and he says he uses that like as if it was Pro Tools. So if you understand what Pro Tools is it's a multi-track digital audio workstation, right?
Okay.
And you can do almost anything.
This is Pro Tools now.
That has to do with music on Pro Tools.
Okay.
Right? And with Reason, man, I thought it would be slightly different because it's sort of like it comes across as a program that specifically deals with more so like house music and stuff. So like it was very weird for him to say, yo, Reason is my guy, you know. And he also uses Logic. Logic is a very cool DAW. Like it's if I knew how it actually works properly, I'd probably jump on it, because all the producers that use Logic have like this distinct sound that really makes a song sound like it's you know, like when a song is like underwater and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, like that it's rich, but it's underground, you know.
That kind of music that takes you there.
Yeah, the texture is very sweet.
Right.
And I love programs that can do that. There's compressors that can do that, but like if an entire program can do that, that means like hallelujah, you know, we're winning. And he also is a keyboard guy.
Really?
Know? Yeah. Uses a lot of keyboards. Your SPs, he's there. You know, he's using lots and lots of drum machines. MPC from that era, you know, 90s. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to get yourself an MPC 2000 and maybe like a nice Roland keyboard.
Okay.
Right? And that's when like the magic starts to happen. And with him, like it was sort of like the same thing, same process. And it's one of those things where I personally get very surprised, because when you get to hear when you actually deal with the actual equipment,
right,
you find that the music itself takes a different direction. But then he found a way to make this thing sound unique. You know, it sounds like, what is it? Like, I don't know what it sounds like, but it's very unique. You know, outside of the one that we just heard now, Busta Rhymes 1.
Yes.
That's a clear sample. We can all hear that's that Stevie Wonder sample. And those are the few joints that he produced where you can hear, okay, MPC 2000, you know, you just heard the song Chop Chop, and you know, and I mean, I guess it was a different time. Late 90s, early 2000s, that's when I think was like the peak of the stuff that Rockwilder was doing, you know. And I think it's important to also be in touch with your tech, man. Like, know what fits for you. Okay. You know, like me, for instance, I'm a Pro Tools guy. I've always been a Pro Tools guy. I don't always use it, but in terms of the kind of music that I make, Pro Tools has always given me everything I need. So I would say that, like, yo, guys, producers, find your tool.
Find your tool. All right, it's just gone 29 minutes before we hit 8 o'clock, the last 29 minutes of the show, and that's how we come to the end of our producer spotlight. But what we like to do is we like to make Wednesdays about production, and given the Protect the Producer hashtag, we decided to bring you that clip that PH Raw X put out on his social media, so you can hear what he has to say about it as well, following on from what Makwa put out. And then we decided to dedicate the last 30 minutes of the show to PH Raw X Productions, simply because from what I can see, he's trying to do something. It almost seems like he's putting together the Avengers of some kind, but he's taking people's contacts on social media. He was asking for people, because Jaws had tagged a bunch of producers on his tweets, and he was like, yo, everybody who's mentioned here, give me your tens, something needs to change. So shout out to PH Raw X, and that's why we're dedicating the last now 28 minutes of the show to him.
The Producer Spotlight with Mr. Instro.
You can be a beat maker and not be a music producer. But when you're a music producer, you don't have to be a beat maker.
Only on the element.